Okay, good. Hello, Ian. Can you hear me? I can hear you, Ian. Can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, awesome. I can hear you.
Great.
Cool, cool. Hello, everyone. Really excited that you're joining us today to talk about everything you need to know about Excel and how to start a career in Excel. And today I'm with Ian, Ian McKinsey. Hello, Ian. Do you want to
Hi.
talk about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ian. I I do a lot of different things with XR technology. For fun, I'm the assistant director of the MIT Reality Hackathon. I am also a mentor with XR Bootcamp, teaching XR development. And then for work, I am a software engineer working on medical devices at Samsung Neurologica. Um, Self-described XR enthusiast. It's just kind of been my hobby or my passion for a while, and I like to talk about it. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome, cool. Hello everyone. My name is Ahmed, and in a full-time job, I'm a software engineer. Do a lot of engineering stuff. I'm also a mentor at Excel Bootcamp together with Ian, and I'm also the chapter president for the Nigeria VR Association. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I also work with Swift XR, where we're trying to make no code development for AR VR. But yeah, that's just about me. Excited.
That's fantastic. Um, how was it that you got into doing XR development?
Yeah, I mean, I started more from a robotics background, right? So I came from a robotics background, um, where we were where we were trying to virtualize stuff. So rather than doing, the physical robotics, we're trying to say, okay, how could we bring this robotics from this physical form into, like the virtual form? And then I was using Unity, right? And then, from Unity, I just felt, okay, seems XR was really cool. And then I just like moved into, the whole augmented reality in Unity. And then 5 years now, I'm now like, full career into XR.
Yeah.
What about you, Ian?
Yeah, it moves pretty quickly. I had um maybe a little bit of a similar interest. I was like looking at across different fields in technology. I had some interest in working on computers, more like information technology stuff. I was in like the robotics club and had some interest in maybe working there. And then when I was exiting high school, I don't remember how it caught my eye, but like HoloLens had just been announced and it was just on the horizon. Like kind of like Magic Leap was in like stealth mode and they weren't really being talked about. But I did all this like research into what the current state of augmented reality and virtual reality was. And as soon as I like started looking into it more, I was like, oh, I saw the potential of like what was there, where um, we'd have this ability to do computing in a way that isn't confined to a screen or a rectangle somewhere, and that I knew that that's something I wanted to be part of. So I immediately set out to go in that direction. I actually ended up learning game development at my local tech school, and that's where I picked up my Unity skills to try and get into the industry as quickly as I could. Um, I then, at my second job in the industry, ended up finding that the user interface at my current job was made in Unity. And I took those skills there, and now I'm doing even more like robotics work on these mobile CT scanners and um, using Unity for our simulation tools and also for making our user interfaces. And it's branched more into doing XR development.
Nice. I mean, I think I find it interesting that most people that I know that actually came into Excel, they always like have this game development background, right? Which I think is really really interesting.
Yeah, I think that they can be very close. Maybe it's just the tools that we're using are what was originally designed. Like Unity was originally for mostly for making games. That's how they pitched it. But as it's just been really adaptable for building onto all these different platforms, I think that's why it played right into so well of like um, it's my tool of choice at least for any time I need to do creative work. It's just so fully featured.
Nice.
The
Cool.
fast-paced environment of game development also, like, because things are changing so rapidly in XR, that same kind of mindset of needing to be able to come up with creative solutions to problems that aren't normally solved, um, trying to work with what you got in order to make some kind of good experience on XR devices. I think that's where it can be a lot of overlap with at least my experience in working on games.
Yep, cool. I mean, yeah, I think like when we look at most of the tools we use in XR, stuff like Unity, Unreal, there's always that overlap also with those are the core tools we also use for game development. So yeah, so there's that tools overlap. But again, I'm more interested into like why do you think XR is important? And we have quite a number of people currently watching us, and then why should they also think XR is important?
Yeah. So to me, the power of extended reality, which is kind of extended reality being a blanket term over both virtual reality, fully virtual environments, and augmented reality, augmenting what we see in front of us, that what the powerful common denominator here is contextual information, being that when you instead of like us needing it forever growing up, it's been that I have to go to, and it still is this way. I have to go to my computer in order to do work on the computer. That computing happens within this box in front of me, or these magic rectangles that we keep in our pockets or phones. Um, what I'm really excited about XR technology is the opportunity for us to break out of those magic rectangles, for us to bring the information right to where we need it, whether that's going to be I need to do a simulation and I can't work with the physical machine, but I can have a virtual copy of it. Or instead of me having my instructional booklet over here that I need to switch between what I'm working on and reading the instructional booklet, that I can overlay this booklet onto what I'm working on and save time there. That I think is the powerful piece of it, which is where it's going to bring a lot of value and value to be able to work with it for both the people who are benefiting from these tools and the people who are making these tools.
Nice. I mean, I definitely agree with you there because like what you said, I feel we're currently in this 2D box screen, where we're using our smartphone currently. And then I feel we're going to move to that next stage where we're going to, move towards this kind of like smart glasses, where your glasses is more like, your computing devices. And, XR is the technology that's going to power that. And it feels like, the quicker you can get into that space, the more you're positioning yourself to build for that future. I
Yes,
mean,
absolutely. Yeah. Um, it's kind of in a way. I don't. It's an okay analogy, but like kind of like the it could be really hard to make a game now and sell it professionally because there's a lot of people producing into that market. Same thing of like when early on in the career of phones that the app store was kind of limited. So when you had a standout application, it would be able to you'd really notice it. So that's an important piece about why it's a great time right now to get into working with XR is because it's still in those early stages that you're really like looking ahead to the future. And when it's so small, um, actually right now when you make anything, whether it's like the best app ever or just to put something out there, the XR community scoops it right up and everybody's always sharing and talking about it online. It's actually a really like welcoming place to like start doing more development. Um, yeah.
nice, nice. And even talking about that, there was this metaverse forum. I think Kronos Group just spin out. Where it was trying to get all almost all the organizations that are doing something into XR, and then have them into like a single forum where we could now define the future standard, which I think is like a really good step in the next direction.
Um, with being able to work on kind of a well, what's I don't think that the standards are really, or well, we're starting to develop standards, and there's a lot of people bringing good design principles to the table about like how we want to set up the space, but a lot of it's still really up in the air. Like you see some examples of um, some of the things that people post online may be fully working applications. They may be mock-up videos that people have made, or like the famous one is uh, hyper reality. That video showing like all of the storefronts absolutely covered, or like the virtual shopping experience, what it might look like, or walk, or like understanding the roadways and highlighting all these flashing lights, whether it was showing what we could possibly go to, or maybe showing what happens if we don't be considerate in terms of designing these experiences for people. um that's also why there's a lot of emphasis on like building things responsibly, because now, like right now, if I don't want to look at the technology, I can step away from the computer and I can put it away in my pocket. But when we start moving towards always being on people's heads, always being on people's faces, that we're considerate about how we build these standards.
Cool.
um so for I was wondering, for you, what do you think, what what is so important about doing XR development for you, and why is it really important to get into XR? Just in your regards.
I mean, I think for me now, right? It's because it's relatively new, right? Then it's, I can sort of like innovate in that space, right? So I could come up with certain products, certain design approach, right? And it's like, okay, no one has done maybe something similar to this, right? So it gives me that sense of, okay, we are currently in this early stage, and I'm helping to shape that industry, at that really early stage, right? So it gives me that kind of like creative fulfillment that, okay, yeah, man, you're doing something great. Unlike when I'm currently like in the web space, and it's, we already have like all these badass frameworks down already, and they just work towards it. But in XR, it's saying you can define certain stuff, right? Nothing is cast in stone yet. So you could define certain approaches that you feel like, this might be the next gen stuff, and then people just, okay, I think I like what this guy is doing, and then let's also use it. So that creative stuff is, I'll say, it makes me extra important, because it's new, and also gives me that the career fulfillment that I need. um yeah, I mean, but to you, I just want to ask, like, talking about what we talked about now, where do you see XR in the next couple of years, next few years?
Um, I'm really excited to see what is kind of coming with this next phase of development. Like, I still think that regular, like, good everyday wearable augmented reality devices are going to be like a little ways out. So these like smart glasses that replace our phones, well, they're like relatively close. I mean, it's hard to say. Things are moving way faster than I ever would have expected them to, because like just within about like 5 years time, like things have gone from 0 to 100, and past and beyond now. Um, so it's hard to be able to project on what we may go to. What I am really excited is for to start to see that shift in computing. So where right now we do have these really specialty devices, very expensive devices, like development computers for doing development, computers that can run virtual reality. That I'm curious to see where, as like other competitors, like maybe Apple starts to get involved, or the next device from Meta, being the Cambria device, that those are going to be targeted more towards, um, can we replace your current laptop or your current computer, whereas you would have carried this thing around with you in a backpack and then you'd set it up to be able to do the work that you need to. It's going to be easier for me to carry these like about ski goggle sized device to be able to do all of that work that I would have done normally. They're going to have to try to compete there. So I'm excited to see those start to step in, as people start to make the decision of like, this would be like in the early days before people really had computers available to them. And it's like, oh, I think I'll get a home computer, even though it costs like $3,000 and it can only like play solitaire. That now people are going to shift in that direction. Early on, it's not going to solve everything that we could do on our phones for now, but it's going to start to become a replacement that I'll choose to use this device instead. I suppose it could be a little hard sometimes to step away from my biases and say like what the average consumer would go for, because when you work so much with this technology, like every time I see a new headset or try something out, I'm like all for it. Like that's what I'm interested to see. I don't know if it's similar for you of like trying to gauge what another user or somebody who's just a general user might want, as opposed to being like a super user or somebody who's really into working with these devices.
I mean, I think I definitely like like go with you because one is like I always like stock up. It said so at my back here. I just like have this my shelf. Where I just keep putting like OG quests and quote me back, right? And when I look at how much it costs to get a VR headset 5 years ago, and then the fact that with $300 I can get a Quest 2 now, and I'm like,
Yes.
okay, my God, like it's as you said, like it just went from like 0 to 100. Like that speed was there, and I think it's definitely going to get maybe cheaper, and also better, more has more computational power, and I think that that future is definitely interesting. But I think for me, like when I look at the future, I feel like we're gonna see an uptick in augmented reality first, and then VR is they're gonna come, and then now overtake AR. But like in the next 5 years, I feel like maybe AR is gonna have more stuff because currently now, I think AR is easier to adopt for certain stuff, from shopping to a lot of stuff, right? But then maybe when we get to that stage where VR becomes, affordable sets, much more better tracking and all, then we can now see
Mhm.
VR go up.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely agree. And it has become more accessible. And like what I'm excited for is just even more like capable devices. Like the first headset that I bought, I had to set up multiple different light stations. I had to be able, like, it could only see in like the virtual environment. Like it's so incredible that it's come so far that now, like with the new Quest headset, like you can instantly switch in between being in the virtual environment or doing pass through and seeing your room. If you've seen some of the things that people are doing where they're prototyping pass through applications on Quests, so whereas before, instead of you needing to buy a super expensive augmented reality headset, like thousands of dollars for like to get a Magic Leap or something like that, that now you could just prototype a lot of those augmented reality experiences on Quest, and then even hoping to get like color pass through on some of the future headsets or the upcoming Lynx headset. There's some really good. I noticed that there's some questions in the chat also about like starting a career in XR, and like skills to be able to acquire. Do you what tips would you give to people who are looking to start their careers in doing XR development?
Oh, nice. Okay, I just popped that question. Um, yeah, I mean, again, I think I feel majorly like first thing like what Hi and Ian has been saying like for the past 20 minutes. It's majorly to get everyone excited about XR. The possibility of XR and everything, right? So I think to start a career in XR, first thing is passion. Um, because I mean I told some people that if you want to start, right, unlike a normal web development where you just need to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you could build, a fully functional web app. For XR, that's not the case. You need to learn, 3D modeling, C sharp, animations, Unity. There's like a lot of stack in place, right? So if that excitement is not there, if that, passion is not there, then, I say passion is the first step, right? Have the passion for XR. Then, get a mentor because it can be kind of crazy at start. A lot of new tools coming out every day. So you need someone that could sort of like guide you into okay, a couple of paths and trends. Then also like start with courses. So before you jump into like saying I want to take a paid course, maybe try watch like a free YouTube video, right? Try and see okay, this YouTube video I'm watching, do I like extra from this? Is this something I really want to do and all the stuff? And then from there, if you feel like okay, this is good, then you can now say, okay, I want to forward my career in Excel and do some couple of other stuff. But again, this is just like me. Ian, I don't know about you. Like how would you recommend someone to start in Excel?
Yeah. Um, definitely, like there is the stack of skills in order to be successful in the industry is huge, and it's really something that kind of comes accumulative over time. And when you're looking at like all the different things that you need to learn, it can be really daunting starting out. Um, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have to give to people is finding, like you were saying about having passion for wanting to do it, is that it's really important to find this piece that you feel strongly like, I want to build this. I'm going to be able to sit down and chip away towards building this vision of a project in your head, and that setting out to do that. Um, usually, so like that's gonna, at least in my skill set or my experience, that's gonna be learning Unity, learning C sharp, like you said, learning 3D models, or at least how to work with 3D models, whether you're making them yourself or you find them online and you know how to repurpose them to get them to do what you need them to do. But like when you have that passion of to say that I'm going to go out and I'm going to find each of these pieces that I need to bring them together into a project that I really want to see happen, that's how you keep making steps going forward. The other huge piece of advice that I have is to, well, it is important to have that internal passion to go out and talk to the community around you and meet other people who are doing this development work as well, because that was the number one thing that pushed me beyond my own capabilities, was to go and see what other people were doing and bounce ideas off of them and work with them and learn from them, to be able to grow with other people in the community instead of just in my own like sphere of what I was doing. For me, that was going to my local school to find more development. When I was at that school, I was joining game jams, and I would do like weekend projects with just a random team of people that I would meet up there and say, let's try to build a game in 48 hours because it's a fun thing to try. And then also like an extension of doing game jams, which are just building a game over the weekend for fun. I found the When I was in school, I found MIT Reality Hack as an event, and I went as a participant as a student. And there, instead of building games that were just for fun, we were building applications that were trying to solve problems, whether that's across different industries of like healthcare, automotive, business, wellness, like doing XR for good. They have these different categories of problems or challenges that you might try to solve. Um, and yeah, I really really like that event. As you can tell that now I'm one of the organizers of it 5 years later.
I mean,
So yeah.
cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, XR is definitely, I remembered when I started learning Maya, and that's like a 3D modeling tool, and I used like, I think it was a year that I used to like, go from like beginner to like expert, and I was like, my God, it took me years, it took me years to learn, like how to do 3D modeling properly. But I think, if I look at the industry now, right, I think there's a lot of stuff that's happening. First thing is we have I won't say lots, but at least there's a rise in no code tools. So, or like before, where you need to just like sit down and write, a donkey load of code. Now it's
Mhm.
like you just like drag and drop stuff, wireframe stuff, and you're good to go. Stuff like Sparkier and other kind of studio where you could build, AR solutions. And this Niantic Lightship SDK, again, I mean, you still need to code for that, but it just makes a whole lot of complications like really, really easy to do. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about the future of the industry. Where do you think it's going to go to? Do you think there's going to be a future for people that still want to code? Definitely, I know you still need to code, but what do you think about the future of like this kind of really easy tools that are coming out now, like no code
Hmm.
tools, like low code tools? I know.
I think that like there will still be this existing niche of programmers that are making new new low code or no code tools for others to be able to use. But for the majority of people in the industry, writing syntax individually, like character by character, to tell the computer what you want that's gonna go away, because even as somebody who does enjoy, like I actually like the act of writing out a script or doing coding, that it's not the maybe the best way to do it, that if we can accomplish these same things by just wiring it up, and that's going to work for more creators to be able to use these tools, that's really where the shift is going. And just about all of like the creative suites are, they have access to some type of node editor. Like Unity, I don't use them as much, but I know Unity has all of its like node editing tools now. You can do stuff like bolt scripting to get a lot done. You can like you mentioned, the Snapchat's program is all done through node scripting, I believe, and then also the new Effect House tool is also node scripting. So I think that these node no code, low code solutions are here to stay for sure, because that's going to be, it's going to enable more creators across the board to be able to work with these tools.
Nice. I think we already have some couple of questions around like training classes. Yeah, I don't talk about um the Excel Bootcamp and also the Inclusion Scholarship. Then I could also talk about what OFT is also going to be offering.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, one of the common organizations that we both participate with is XR Bootcamp. They are an upskilling program specifically designed to teach XR development skills. Um, I very much like that structure of doing boot camp. So I took one of their courses before about how to do hand tracking on the Oculus Quest, and I very much enjoyed that. And then now I'm back with them mentoring for their Foundations in XR development course, which I can link into the chat at some point. They do also have, depending on what your skill level is, so they have classes of different levels. If you're an absolute beginner and you haven't written any C# code, they have a free course that's teaching how to write C# and how to work with Unity to get started. And then that can be your step into taking the Foundations course and rapid prototyping. And they also have master classes that are focused on specific targeted skills. And then they just announced the Beyond Inclusion program in partnership with the XR Safety Initiative and XR Access, and in partnership with Meta and other industry leaders. So what the goal of that program is to offer scholarships to underrepresented developers, creatives who want to get into the XR industry, to be able to take courses, learn how to do development, and then afterwards have help with placement right into jobs in the industry, so that people who might not have otherwise had an opportunity can get that option to be able to get in and find a successful position within the industry. So if anybody's interested in that, I can add that to the chat. Do you want to talk about the program and initiative that you're starting?
Yep, awesome. And also at Oft Developers, we're organizing a tailored Excel school. So the goal is, try and break down XR into much more tailored content. So again, we're gonna have track like UI UX for XR, data science for XR, 3D modeling for XR, Web 3D. Again, literally like all the tracks in Excel, then break down into specific classes that are like easy to digest. And we're going to be launching that really, really soon, sometimes in early August or late July. So I'm also going to drop a link to like where you can just submit your interests in the comments. Then also after this stream has ended, everybody who actually attended the stream, we're going to send an email. The email is going to contain like what Ian talked about, Excel Bootcamp, the Inclusion Scholarship, and also what OFT is going to be offering. Again, these are really quick ways that you could join, again, start a career in Excel, typically. Awesome. Ian, I think the link for the inclusion, I think, is broken. I think we're going to take off. Take it off. Yeah. So again, if you have any question that you want to ask, in Excel, again, you have time to drop it in the comment section, and Ian will be happy to answer any of your question. Cool. And yeah, again, Ian, a quick one, just kind of curious, right? What is your
Yeah.
rough way? I mean, what is your rough pathway to success for Excel? Like, let's say you want to rough it, and what's that pathway to success going to look like?
Yeah. Um, the quick bullet points of how, I guess, I mean, what I find really interesting through like meeting other people in the XR industry is that everybody has kind of found their own like little path, so that there really is no right way to go about it. But with that being said, the ways that I see it, or just from my experience, would be to be able to learn at least the beginnings of working with these 3D tools. I highly recommend working with Unity because there are both programming solutions and no code solutions that you can do to start working with XR development now. I would, if you're interested in deploying and like working with um, either AR or VR, really the fast track I think is to prototype on like an Oculus Quest. Um, the new like Quest 2s are very powerful and very featured, and you can do a lot with them. Um, so like if you can get to the point where you're working in Unity, you're building to a quest, you're able to make virtual objects, you can interact with them, you start building behaviors. That those are gonna that's like the raw, like kind of like skill set that you need to do. How much you get those skill sets, you could learn them online for free because there's never been more resources available before. You could go to a upskilling course that's available, either the one with HOFT or the one with XR Bootcamp. There are also other free and paid courses available online for learning development. Um, there's a Dilmer Vasilros runs a great YouTube channel showing a lot about how to get started with doing XR development. That I highly recommend his content if you're not sure where to get started. You can at least like be building onto a headset. And then for growing your career, once you're actually building projects and being able to promote, I would just start getting involved with the community. I'd start reaching out online, seeing what other developers are doing, share your work. Yeah, like I really think that that's one of the best ways to go out. And then like for me, it was always the best ways to network was going to game jams, going to hackathons, getting involved. Twitter is an okay social media. That's where I usually meet other developers or see what they're working on. Those or discords too. There's a lot of great like private discords where you can just go and talk with other developers. So yeah, that would be my kind of like overview of how I would see somebody getting into doing development, into XR development. How about
Nice.
you? Because again, like I really think everybody's path is pretty different. It's really cool to see where everyone's backgrounds have kind of come from or how they got here.
Yeah, I think for me again, it was more about working on ambitious projects. I think that was my rough part, right? So again, I started with the basics. Of course, Unity. I start with Unity, and then from Unity, there's a couple of stuff with 3D modeling, and I tried to take some ambitious project, right? So projects with clients, and it was like, hey, Ahmed, you need to deliver this stuff, and then that just sort of like pushed me to the next level, again. So, that was like my rough pathway, right? So as I keep moving forward, I just keep getting this project that just kept, pushing me forward. And again, as you said, networking is really, really important again because XR is really, really in the early stage, right? So how quickly can you, connect yourself with some of these key guys in the industry, the key players, feedback, tips and tricks and all those stuff. So yeah, I mean that's like some of my rough pathway, I would say. I think there's a question about web.
I did see that. That's a good question. Um, I as both somebody who's I don't do actually as much with web development, but it is a super intriguing space because as somebody who does mostly Unity development, there is just like the friction of like putting on a headset. Some people don't want to use VR sometimes because they say it has too much friction. Installing like an APK onto either onto an Android device or on a Windows device, or well, installing an executable to run that build is a lot of friction. What's exciting about WebXR is that all that friction is gone. Now somebody can just go to a web link. It's as easy as browsing the internet that you can jump right into an experience. And I think that that is going to open it up a lot more. Whereas like you try to say, so if I make a cool app and I go to somebody, I'm like, hey, you should try out my app. And they're like, okay, yeah, I want to do it, but you have to install this on your computer, and you need to have the headset in order to be able to look around inside of it. And like, I I don't have any like, all those barriers start to go away with WebXR, which makes it much more easier. When people start to hear, "Oh, I have to do an install or I need to set something up," like it those barriers disappear when you can just click a link and there's your stuff.
Yep, I mean, definitely agree with you there. And again, like that was the thinking, that again I had, right in the early stage, when I was developing SwiftXR, and again the goal was to say, okay, how can someone jump really quickly into developing Excel solution, right? And then there was a part of, okay, I could compile this app into like an APK and then push it into like mobile store like Play Store and Apple Store, and then you need to wait like 2 weeks before it even get approved, and for every update also. Or then you could go with the part of WebXL where it's like instantly have a web link, and the person could view it easily. But then again, of course, there's a couple of caveats, right? If you go the app approach with mobile stores, you're able to have like really solid experiences, like really good experiences. But then with WebXL, because of browser limitations, bandwidth and all the stuff, you really cannot like overload that web with so much stuff. So again, I think it's just about balance. I think most of around Tryon, say for example, I want to try this shoe on my leg, try these glasses in my face, just like simple stuff. I feel they should be channeled via WebXL. But then
Mhm.
if you want, really like solid experiences, like a full blown kind of app with a lot of features and all, then go with the native approach, right? But then again, we might get to that stage where the web is going to be completely rebuilt. I feel WebXL might be the future. Can't really say it's going to be the future, but that might be the future. But then for that to happen, we need the browser to be able to respond to those apps the way a native app is going to respond. So I think I know. But I think we are definitely gonna get there maybe in the future. Definitely cool. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have like the kind of just some casual chat now. What kind of VR apps do you use? I know like oftentimes I play with Altspace, I'm always in Altspace, oftentimes just over the weekend. And also, what kind of social networking apps that do you play with?
Yeah. I one of the places I do like going into alt space, especially for like specific events. Um, when I'm not going in for like a specific event, though, I do enjoy going into like VR chat and just spending time in VR chat, going places and seeing things. In that's for in times when I can't get out or go places. I live a little bit like out in the woods, and it can be hard to get out. And so I like that all of these places are available to me through my computer, and I can go and see people and see friends or make new friends in those virtual spots, which is a lot of fun. As well as I'm super fascinated about um, their role in kind of growing out like different interactions. So like they recently. I had an experience recently where I went to like the music and gaming festival. Uh, Usually happens at a hotel, and then they couldn't have their event in 2020 because of coronavirus and everything. So what they did is they 3D modeled their usual event space, and they brought it inside of VR chat, and they hosted their whole event virtually. So then, come 2022, they were able to have the event again, and so they um, had a connection between the virtual event and the now happening physical event. So you'd be walking. I went into this world in VR chat just to go and hang out and see like some music and some live shows. And then you go walking past this wall and you can see right through, you see the actual people at the conference walking through the hallways and whatnot. And I didn't realize at first that it was like a live feed until one of the other like people in the room walked up and said like, "Hey, you with like the pink hair," and they came up to the screen and started talking to us inside of VRC. So we were like there as avatars, like hanging out in the virtual hotel. They are there as real people in the physical hotel, and we're just talking through the wall to each other. That was like super intriguing that they can do that, and they've been getting more like tools and stuff to facilitate that recently. Like they enabled open sound controller, so now you can send like MIDI signals to your and have your avatar receive them. So then you can have things react. Like you can press a button on a keyboard and change your shirt color inside of VR, or you can make lighting react. They also added the avatar interaction. So like if I put a button on me that makes fireworks shoot out my head, you could press that button and have that like interact. So to me, like those types of like interactions are super interesting, and I just keep watching what people are doing in that space. For a long time, I didn't like fully understand like the importance of it, but the more time that I've spent there, I'm seeing that people are building like really creative things, really really cool things.
Yep, and yeah, definitely that's really cool. I think I remembered Bonnie Man VR in all space then, and that event was crazy and a lot of people there, and I was just like I was pretty much like how could you have that kind of you know wild space and then that kind of interaction. And yeah, it was really cool. I remember also when Microsoft had these mixed reality events. I think it was the ML Dev Days in Outspace, and then I could see Alex Kipman in that same space, and then it was VR, and I could just like walk up to him and say, "Hey, Alex," and then of course like if that was physical, like trying to fly from where I am to to the ML Dev Days was like a no go, right? But then I could just put on my VR set and I was like, instantly in that ML dev days. Yeah, definitely. Definitely really cool. I think there's a question really, really interesting here. It's about chips. I think I've been seeing a lot about, I think there's this Mojo Vision, that I've been seeing stuff around trying to have AR on contact lenses. What's your perspective on this?
Hmm. I definitely think they could like every I'm not as much into like hardware component manufacturing, so I'm not sure how well I can forecast. But every time we set like this limit to say like, oh, like the hardware can't get any smaller, the we can't like extend the battery life on this any further. Yes, we push up against these limits, but the limits always seem to move back with it. So at some point we'll hit like the true Moore's law to say that we can't fit any more components inside of this machine. That the actual physics of it stop us, but I still think that they're away from that. So things are gonna still continue to get smaller and more usable. And where we are going to get more form factors, definitely like smaller, more usable glasses. I do think that there will be some contact lens versions. I just don't know what they're currently available for. Um, I, and the other piece where I'm also curious is if you've seen some other. I count these definitely within XR technology, but if you've seen like the Looking Glass portraits or like the Leia Loom Pad, they're all like volumetric glassesless volumetric displays where you can look at content. Like this won't display properly, but if you're familiar with like the Looking Glass portrait, it shows volumetric content depending on which view you're looking at. So for instance, if you're looking at somebody's face and I look at one side, I actually see this side of the nose, or if I look at this side, I actually see another one. So you really are seeing like volumetric content. So where pieces might get smaller so that we'll have contacts and smart glasses. I also think that there's opportunity to do immersive extended reality content that doesn't maybe necessarily require me putting anything on my head or putting anything in my eyes is also another way of looking at it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, really interesting. I think for me, like, what I think may be the final form of XR is actually, more like BCI. So again, brain computing, devices, right? So I know there's this kind of a couple of research happening with HCI and HTC currently now with like some HTC headsets trying to do BCI because I think again when we sleep, and we have our dream, right? You are able to run in your dream, you're able to feel fear, feel a lot of stuff in your dream, right? But you're actually in that same position on your bed, all being simulated, by the brain, right? So then my thought is, okay, can we get to that point where we are able to then simulate that kind of dream also, but then for our virtual content, right? And that's for me may just be the final form of BCI because with that, right, I don't need to worry about any controllers, right? Because when you're in your dream, you can feel fear, you can feel brace, you can smell, you can eat, you can do a lot of stuff, right? And then but then trying to get to that point might be quite scary because we need like a lot of controls, around the security and all. But then again, I think that may be the final form of VR, which is like brain computing devices. I know there's this new devices, this wristwatch stuff from Meta, where they're trying to say, okay, you don't need to use your controller instead, but now we could have like this kind of wristwatch that can track your hand and then also get your fingers right. So I think that's going to be really great because if I have that right, I could put two on my hand, also two on my leg, and then I can have like really accurate like full body tracking in VR. So I think just getting to that point, may just be something that's really, really interesting.
Yeah,
Cool.
I definitely agree. I think something to kind of play off of that is that um, where things have been like kind of going back to that like idea of we've been doing computing for the same way for a long time, that we're confined to this rectangular screen, or we only have the keys that are available on our keyboard. um, but that what is special about XR is that it's going to make computing more human, that we'll be able to break out of these, just be like having only the keys that are in front of you. We're going to have to find new ways of interacting with the computer that are much more natural, that are much more human ways to interact. Like some of the great examples that come to mind is like, instead of going through a point and click menu to add somebody as a friend, like in Rec Room, I believe, if you give somebody a handshake or if you give somebody a fist bump, those are like the natural interactions for saying I want to like party up with you or I want to be your friend. That will find those kinds of more natural interactions, and then also for like brain computer interfaces, that is like the greater evolution of it. You're a fan of like no code or low code tools. That I like dream of a day when I don't have to, like as a developer, I don't have to tell the computer character by character exactly what I want it to do, that I'd be able to just think about what I need to get done and the computer would help me accomplish that, or be able to at least interpret it, and then we'll go from there.
Nice, nice, cool. Yeah, I think the future is definitely interesting. And seeing the fact that we are barely at the surface, right? So again, this is like a really good time to jump into Excel and then just jump on that trend. I don't know if there's any questions. Again, feel free to drop your question, but I think we are at the end of 45 minutes. So super. So yeah, I don't know if you have like any like last comment chat for for the people watching, you know, advice, tip, tricks.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I definitely do have some advice. It is to be passionate and to try to hold on to your determination. If getting into XR is something that you really feel strongly about, that it's a long journey to go down, and there's going to be ups and downs. And it, like as somebody who goes through that in the industry, like just like try to remember why it is that you get why it is that you want to study this stuff, why you want to make stuff about it. I'm so passionate about this stuff because, like we've said during this talk, that doing XR development gives this kind of unparalleled creativity that isn't available before. Like, you have full control over all the dimensions of time and space within this virtual like window. Is super cool. So to me, like that magic of it just kind of keeps me going. If for you getting started out, see if you can find your magic, find your reason for why you want to be doing this, and hold on to that throughout your career, and then buckle down and like really try to learn this stuff and grow your skills. If you can pick up some of these key skills of being able to produce an experience or produce an application of that gives value to somebody else, it's going to add on to your own value, and you will see that come back and pay dividends in the future. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Ian. I think also from my side is gonna be passionate and try a lot of stuff. Right. Again, I think For me, that's what I did. Then I did. Then I could learn to say, okay, I think I love Excel. I really love stuff. I tried Excel, 3D animations, 2D, a lot of stuff, and then I just jumped in and said, okay, I think it's Excel I want to do. So I'll say try a lot of stuff, and then then confirm that you really like Excel. That's going to validate your passion and all. And as Ian said, I think passion is really really key. Excel is really complicated than normal development, right? You need to know a lot of stack, 3D modeling, texturing. Again, you might not need to do it, right? But you need to have understanding around it. C sharp, Unity. There's like a lot of stack and a lot of tools, right? So I think that's from my side.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
guess the one like little last piece is even if it is, so we speak a lot about how hard it is, but always remember that it is obtainable. That like if you keep chipping away at it and like if you keep showing up and trying it consistently, that you will get better and eventually like you can learn it. Um, especially through like courses help a lot.
Yep. Cool. Definitely. Okay. Again,
Great.
thank you
Thank
everyone for joining. And Ian, I mean, again, I hope this was really useful. Again, as you said, you would get an email after this event with all the links that we talked about. Ian talked about Excel Bootcamp, the foundation course, and also Excel Inclusion Scholarship. I'm also going to drop link to the form where you could specify interest in the HOFT Excel, school that's going to be coming up really really soon. Um, yeah, I mean, hope this was useful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me.